to episode 1515 of You're Already Accepted, a community rewatch. We are back, babies. This is week 2 of our comeback, YAA 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
We're officially changing the name of the show to YAA 2.0. Like that's
Do all the
season to
paperwork.
us.
Yeah, exactly. We're Ethan's got a mustache. We're brand new. Brand
wish
new
you
whip,
could
got
see
no
it,
keys.
But you can only hear me talk about it. So you have to know what
Ethan,
for.
how would you describe your mustache? If your
Go on.
mustache brewed its own coffee, what blend would it use?
Um,
I'm thinking like donut blend, coffee shop donut.
Okay.
yeah, I know that's
with
pretty good.
with a
Okay.
with a farmers cooperative mug, not because it's a farmer itself, but because it is scrupulous in the sense that it takes free coffee mugs because it knows that it doesn't need to spend $13 on a coffee mug. That's my take. What do you think? Is that too off the base?
I feel like Ethan's mustache is like, okay, so you're walking in like a beautiful field, right? And then you just look down on the ground
Here's a caterpillar.
and you just like, it's one of those like beautiful, like very dramatic shots where like your hands like run through the weeds,
Oh yeah.
right? And it's like that whole field, if you take it from 30,000 feet, it's just Ethan's face. And it's just like beautiful, like, you know.
So we're walking through Ethan's mustache, or we're walking through. So it's a completely empty field besides the wheat that we're walking through.
Exactly. And the wheat
Is the
part
hairs?
of Ethan's mustache. But like the whole thing is like his face.
Okay.
Real mustache is the friends we made all in the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's being a level 5 laser lotus.
Yeah.
It's like whenever the ice cream on or the hot fudge on your sundae is still warm, or being the first one to break in a new boob job.
Yeah.
So folks, today we are looking at Ethan's mustache is not like breaking in a new boob job. Season 2, episodes 3 and 4, the psychology of letting go, and basic rocket science. So a little snippet synopsis for the 2 episodes. Psychology of letting go. Couple of different storylines. Jeff is having a midlife crisis because he has too high of cholesterol. Pierce's mom dies, and we kind of get a glimpse into the laser lotus Buddha religion cult thing. And then Annie and Britta are fighting over how to properly get donations to like a crisis fund. What are the other 3 doing? I guess Abed's in the background for the whole episode.
Oh, yep.
Troy is just sort of like along with the Pierce and Jeff storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shirley is
Basically
like,
upset that.
yeah, that Annie and Britta are
are doing this by themselves and didn't
right, and didn't invite her. So
Oh, we're working in pairs.
yeah, it's skinny bitches. And then basic rocket science. Whenever we'll talk about that, that is Greendale's Apollo 13 / Armageddon / Independence Day. Like it's they're trying to get a flight simulator and be the first college in the city to do it rather than City College. The Greendale 7 are being punished for submitting the butt flag to Greendale. They get locked inside the space simulator, which is an old Winnebago.
KFC sponsored.
KFC sponsored, of course. The 11 Herbs in Space adventure. Abed gets left behind, and so he's the mission control. And we got to see how they get back. You know, how they can they rise above the noise, or are they going to crumble to the pressure? You know, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But Jonathan, talking about the psychology of letting go. What are your thoughts on the episode? What are the things that you liked? What was the A+? What would you give the gold star?
Duncan's back, bro. I love
Duncan.
Duncan, John Oliver. Honestly, the more we enjoy this series, the more we just take in this series one more time, unpack this series.
Whenever we experience the series.
Exactly. I just fall more and more in love with Duncan every time I get to see him. He has like the right kind of British accent that's like a little bit. It's not too like high mighty. It's not
right.
Not too understandable. It's like right and like
it's not like drunken pub type. Like Simon from Frasier.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, he's a drunk, so we get
Right.
drunken Duncan.
It's kind of like, this is what I could picture an actual British person being like.
Mhm.
Like the stereotype of an actual British person, not the stereotype of a British person on TV. Does that make sense?
No,
not an
Yeah.
American.
Not an American stereotype of a British
Yes,
person. It's like
correct.
how a British person would stereotype a Brit in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
So yeah, he was definitely the highlight of the episode for me. I thought that I just love John.
It's nice to get him because we didn't have him much of the first season. Like he was in the first 2 episodes, and then he didn't come back till the very end.
Because you really think whenever you're watching Jeff and him interact, you think like, oh, Duncan's going to be like his
mentor,
his inside man, you know, and then he's just kind of not there. Yeah, I get that.
Now this is why I came to America.
Yeah.
which oil wrestling between two women. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how much of a lech he is, but that's just kind of his character, you know.
But I don't think he's. I think we've talked about this before.
And he does have a bit of a he drives Britta home and she's drunk, and so he's like, I can't sleep with her, and he's like starts banging the steering wheel. Like he's a better guy than he should be. Yeah. And he hates that he's a good guy, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's why he came to America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you guys liked about the episode? Or was it just sort of a mid episode?
It's mid.
There were I didn't care much for the Britta and Annie storyline just because it just wasn't
like cultural /
it's clever to play into Annie's like the schoolgirl innocence, mm-hmm. and you know the whole like woke scream at you, like trying to convince you that they're right, and versus like selling the snake oil, you know, like people talk loud when they want to sound smart, right? Correct. Like you could sum up Britta's whole side by that.
Yeah. Which actually, okay, I don't mean to cut you off there. I was like,
well, boy, I hate to be around whenever you do come here.
Yeah. Sure, I'm gonna let you finish, but
that's cat, bro. That's cat, bro. Anyway,
sorry. In the night.
It's my turn. You said it was my turn.
What? You lost the game.
Sorry. Now I've cut you off.
You told me it was my turn. Oh gosh. Oh no, but I remember I was talking to my now fiance about this, and she was explaining to me how like we were talking just about like voices, and like, oh man, she was like, oh, I'd love to have like this person's voice, and it was like a girl with like kind of like a deeper, smokier voice, mm-hmm. like almost like right here, like kind of like right here,
almost like a Billie Eilish.
A little bit, mm-hmm. maybe a little more like raspy, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting to think like
Joan Rivers. Or like what was that her name? Joan Rivers, like the old celebrity.
Yeah, Joan Rivers. Yeah, the older kid.
You're gonna love my sugar bubble. She was an Arthur. That's how I know her. But
no, it's interesting to think because in this show, they're like, as we just talked about, like Annie's like innocent doty.
I love them.
Like
they're all feathery and pelican-y. I don't know anything.
Exactly.
I wore a back brace, okay?
Yeah.
Well, that's like the thing. Like, it's interesting to think like, okay, do most? I feel like with most guys, like, is it more like the infantilization like of a woman?
I don't know. Guys are weird, man.
I know it's versus like. The more mature, like raspy voice that like my, like fiance was kind of referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those like,
I feel like I feel like we associate different emotions with different styles of voice. Cause I've thought about that. Again, I'm the only one in the group who's not, not shackled by marital affairs.
Traditional.
No, I mean, but I do feel like there are certain styles of voice that are attractive and not like I'm really self-conscious about my voice. And I don't know if Ethan, if you ever have been, because we have pretty similar voices, if the audience hasn't been able to tell that yet. Like, I feel like mine's really nasally. And so it's a pretty love or hate thing. And I get that. Like, sometimes I try to talk like this because I feel like this is a little more masculine, a little bit cooler. But I think maybe the expectation that somebody with a raspier, like lower voice is more like rebellious or punk or anything like that,
or even smarter, like
more
mature, like kind of.
But then there's like a sort of like the female version of my voice. Well, hopefully not, but like a very like airy, like uptight kind of voice. Like I can hear it in my head, but I can't really describe it. Like if I heard it, that's like I really don't like. It takes a little bit to get used to it, but I do get that, and I think that's kind of the point of the episode. Is it's one thing to be right about an issue. It's another thing to convince other people that you're right about the issue. Which is kind of why I think it's funny that, Brett is like yelling like, people, the pelicans are dying in the ocean. And the guy's like, excuse me, you don't have to yell at us. Nobody's on the other side of this issue. I'm like, I wish that more people, I wish I could like save that as a soundbite and just like play that in normal situations. Because I feel like people get really upset. Or like you think about like an NPR article that they post on Facebook, and then like everybody's just commenting the same thing. And it's like, yeah, we're all on the same side about this. You guys don't have, there's no nuance to this. You've already said everything. Or like Brendan Fraser making a comeback. Like if anybody is on the other side of the issue, I'm going to throw hands with them, because Brendan Fraser,
we'll go to war.
We'll go to war. Like I go to war for the Renaissance.
Yeah.
I just like I like Jackie the Nurse, Patton Oswalt. I always like he's not a character actor, because he's in like, I mean, he's Remy, the Ratatouille guy, which is not what I named my cat after. People need to stop asking me about that. But like he's in Parks and Rec. He's in
Brooklyn
Nine-Nine. I think he's even in Frasier, isn't he? Isn't he like in one of the later episodes of Frasier? Maybe not. He's in King of the Hill. He's the younger brother of whatever her name is. King of Queens. Yeah, you're right. Bobby, God dang it.
Dad, Bob.
But I really liked his comparison of aging bodies to the Indiana Jones franchise. He's like, I can't be the first to tell you that this temple breaks down. And he's like, and I also love how it's that whole like cliche of like the person like zooms in and then the noise gets muted. And so sometimes whenever that happens in a scene, I try to like listen to what they're saying, and you just can't hear it at all. But this one, like you can hear, is like whether it's a beloved franchise or a person just breaks down into unnecessary and nonsensical schlock. And I like that. Yeah. Indiana Jones, the franchise, it's like you have 3 good movies. And then this episode came out like probably 2 years after Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
And this conversation is even relevant now because I mentioned in our last episode that like they've greenlit a 5th Indiana Jones movie. And it's like, bro, like Harrison Ford's just going to keel over one day with the fedora on and like, stop. Like I'd rather you just make Indiana Jones a female like you're doing with all the other franchises. Bird. Which I mean, honestly, like
Dan Christian go off.
So I just thought that was funny. That was a funny comparison. Couple of Duncan inclusions, because Duncan's the highlight of the episode. I really like whenever he's introducing himself and he's like, well, I'm taking over because apparently Dr. Bauer strangled Mr. Winger and like choked him and has been placed on administrative leave with pay. And I love how he talks about how serious of a crime that is, and then how like, oh well, nothing happened to her, like the easiest possible punishment. And I'm like, I consume John Oliver media like the Last Week Tonight. Like that sounds like a joke that he wrote for Last Week Tonight. Like I could see him talking about the education system, and it's like people have been punished worse for strangulating former disgraced lawyers who go to community college, and then it would show a picture of the scene from Community, because I really love it whenever he mentions Community. He was talking about Subway a couple months ago and how like the whole franchising works and all that. He's like, I completely forgot that was the plot line of an episode of Community that I was in, and it shows the clip. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, John Oliver's a Community. It's the same as Rick and Unity watching it, and now make them do it on the table. Now cancel it. Back like I feel like more people have seen Community than I realize, but whenever it's mentioned, like, hey, yeah, everybody go watch that, and also go listen to the You're Already Accepted Community podcast. Yeah, that too. But and then one thing that like it's not a joke, but after Jeff is told by Jackie the Nurse, that he's got high cholesterol and he's going through his whole like nihilism, there is no God. People made fun of me because I skipped donuts and I would dab my pizza, and I still might die first, even though you're eating figgy pudding. I really like that Duncan's analysis is like, Jeff claims to be agnostic, like they have no religion at all, but really he worships his own body. And now he's having a crisis because his God has high cholesterol. And so he's denying Pierce his religion as a result. And of course,
that's good.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like I feel like in my whole like faith journey, I've kind of come to that like spot as well of like, I can't really deny somebody else their faith because they're just as, if not more confident in what they believe as I am with what I believe. And so at what point is, spreading the gospel and evangelizing and, bring people over to Christ? Like, at what point is that a genuine concern for them, like in wanting to see them saved and brought to heaven, versus like, I want my religion to succeed and your religion to fail? Because did you ever see the commercials for the Holy Land Experience in Orlando, Florida? Like, Trinity Broadcast Network bought it in 2010 or whatever. We used to see it on JCTV all the time. It would be like a Christian
-3.
Yeah, yeah.
I got you, bro. No cable life.
Yeah, no cable life. And like that amusement park like got flack for being like a Jewish conversion center, pretty much.
Whoa.
And like, as a Christian, I would have never thought about that. Of like, man, a Jewish person probably doesn't want to be told, like be forced into conversion, but like to a secondary audience, like that's kind of what they see it as, just like a conversion camp. So it's hard to kind of see like how people see God, or like what the divine principle is. And, the whole thou shalt not commit adultery, but also idolatry, that whatever you put on a pedestal in your life, like that's what you worship. And for Jeff, it's like the finiteness of his being. He thought that if he just played by the rules, if he like worshipped himself in that sense, that he'd be fine. But he's got the wake up call. And of course, he just uses that as an excuse to crap on Pierce's, religion some more. But I really liked Duncan's analysis of that. That was pretty cool to see.
That is great.
Yeah. Ethan, what did you have for leading the class? What did you think was the best of the Greendale 7?
Well, I'm not really confident in this answer, so I could be swayed. I put Britta and Annie. I mean, I don't love the plot. I don't love this episode at all, so it's hard to pick a winner or a leading the class. But I just went with them because, I mean, if there is a plot that actually made me kind of laugh, it was their plot. I mean, it's not that funny, but I think it's more entertaining than the Jeff plot. I think that there is some good that comes out of their plot, even if it's kind of like annoying. I think we haven't really seen them interact, and like we just saw them fighting over Jeff, or not fighting over Jeff, but like upset because Jeff they were in like a love triangle with him, and whatever. And I feel like anytime they've ever interacted, it's always been like either Britta's jealous of Annie or Annie's jealous of Britta, or it's just more
they're
of
just
like
making fun of each other.
They're just like never in plots together. I feel like, and if they're just kind of more of like the jokes of the group because they're females, and that's what this episode is about. Is like they're not just like what am I trying to say? They're not just like characterizations of themselves. Like they can go beyond just being like the blonde,
like Jeff's love interest,
right? Yeah, and so like I think there's a lot of good growth there for them as characters, but also like in their relationship, where like, yeah, they're different. Like Britta's obviously older. She's they just they have different personalities and are just different people, but that they've started to form a bit of a bond.
Yeah,
after this.
I mean, I feel like there are just some people who just don't gel together.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
And I feel like Annie and Britta are kind of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think the whole point of Britta's anger at Annie is that, I mean, Shirley points it out that Britta is jealous of Annie for being better at what she doesn't care as much about.
Yeah,
which is making people aware of the oil spill. And Annie's not really doing anything wrong. Like, whenever I watched the episode, I didn't feel like Annie really was doing what Britta was accusing her of. But maybe it's because I'm a guy. And so I feel like that too. And we've had this conversation a lot, that like sometimes I'm more willing to bring somebody else down than I am to like get up to their level.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's kind of the cause of like Annie's just naturally like a go-getter, and she's just naturally like peppy and like a people person in the sense that she can bring people together. And Britta's angry because she wants to do that. And maybe she even sees it kind of quote unquote like it is, that like, hey, you guys suck because you don't care about this, and I'm right. But like, that's not how you sell tickets. So that's not how you sell.
That's
like
not the game. Yeah.
That's not the game, right?
Yeah.
And so I can understand the kind of the cause of that tension. But I can see what that could be, the leading the class. I think that they do grow some.
Actually, yeah. And speaking to that dynamic, it kind of speaks like the idea of like there's a difference between being right and getting it right.
Yeah.
And like, this is like a bit of a tangent. It's not really super related, but like I was like hearing I had a professor I'm pretty sure like, well, he was single, 4 years ago or whatever, but he was speaking and like just talking about himself in class. Like, it was like the first day. He's like, "Oh, I'm from here. I went here to college," and he like addressed it like he's not married or whatever. He's like, "I'd rather be right than happy," and I thought that was so strange that like that was the dichotomy of like I could be in a relationship and I could like do this, but then I'd give up my my rights to be right.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
like,
even now that you bring that up, I feel like that does parallel Jeff's whole like arc in this episode, because I've heard that exact same thing with an atheist's perspective. Like, I would rather have the truth and be miserable, whereas these Christians over here, these disembodied Christians, like they go to church and they lie to themselves and they're just happy, and like I hate that.
Yeah,
and it's almost like, yeah, like why does it have to be one or the other?
mm-hmm.
That either you're right, but you can't really connect with somebody else, or you maybe sort of like water down the truth, or you, as in Annie's case, she, prostitutes herself. I don't know.
Yeah.
To connect with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But at the same time, she's not. She's just being.
No.
She's Annie. Like she's just doing her.
Exactly. Which, man, I really hated that joke that Britta made. The one of like, you do it while you pretend that they don't have a sock at home with your name on it.
Oh,
and especially the fact that Annie didn't get it. She's like, well, if they want to make a puppet of me, that's up to them. And I'm like, oh, baby, like that's not at all,
honey.
And I think it goes back to, again, like the nice guy syndrome of like, I feel like I need to protect Annie. Like it's just it's uncomfortable, and I don't like it. And like it wasn't like it was clever, like Britta making the joke, but it was just like it made me so uncomfortable that I couldn't get on board with it.
I hear that.
Yeah. So who did you have for leading the class, Jonathan?
I had Duncan. I'm in love with Duncan.
Oh yeah,
that's straight up
the Duncan principle.
Marry me, John Oliver.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you say that, he might play that as part of his sketch for his show.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm gonna say something different from what I put down. I'm gonna say Pierce's mom led the episode.
Wow.
Because you only get like the minute long, quote from her, little soliloquy or whatever. But I really like when she's like, you can't keep me from that. Like I can't change your mind and force you to accept that life is short, but you can't keep me from leaving. Basically, like I've denounced that I'm actually in this, jar, and you shouldn't keep me in that jar either. And I do feel like it's really sad that Pierce is like, man, it really shows you that she went really downhill in those final days, rather than having that like realization, which I think we talked about it with the other, the Cookie Wizard episode, that like indoctrination in cults is actually really sad. But I really do feel like they do a good job of exploring that in this episode of, like Pierce's cult and his indoctrination, and like how I said that Troy led the class initially because I felt like even though he knew that it was a load of BS, he wasn't like rude to Pierce the same way that Jeff was. I was at least trying to like understand where Pierce was coming from. But I still think that like Pierce's mom, she's got it going on.
No, I like it. This is what's got it going on.
Yeah. Do you have any extra credit, guys? I didn't have any for this episode. Any, like trivia or
we have to mention the maybe one of the biggest Easter eggs in Community lore. Abed helping deliver the baby in the background of the whole episode. I mean, Abed literally is like not involved in this episode in terms of the main plots, but he has his own little side adventure going on.
Yeah.
And then they even make a joke about it at the end. Like, oh, Abed, I feel like I haven't seen you at all this week.
Nothing special.
And I don't know if we mentioned this back during the sex ed fair episode, but I do also know that there's apparently another in-joke that sets this joke up of Abed helping the girl deliver the baby, which during that sex ed episode, at the very end, when Abed's like, don't use condoms. If you're going to have sex tonight, don't use the condoms because they have, holes in them.
Right.
And in the background, you see like
somebody throwing away.
There's like a couple and they just like are like making out and then they like throw the condos away. And it's the same couple that has the baby.
Whoa.
So like, it's like a long, joke that's
yeah,
but it's well worth it.
Are
Which,
they the
when
same
I found that
couple
out,
in the Law and Order episode?
What?
Are they the same couple in the Law and Order episode who give him the sloppy toppy? You know what I'm talking about? What?
I thought we were watching.
There's, I mean, we'll get to it whenever we talk about the episode. But in the Law and Order episode, there's like they're walking through the campus in like their long overcoats because it's winter. If you look in the background, like a lady walks out the door and like wipes her mouth, and then a guy walks out like a second later, like zips up his fly. You've never seen that?
Oh,
I never noticed that.
Yeah, I don't feel, because I looked at it, and apparently like on set, those extras like planned it but didn't tell anybody, and so they did it. And the producer was like, "Well, it's harmless enough. We'll just keep it in. Like, maybe not harmless, but like not noticeable enough, to cause controversy. They just left it in.
Wow.
So yeah,
I don't know. Could be this one.
Yeah.
Jonathan, do you have any final thoughts? Any extra credit at all?
Let's see. I don't think I have any extra credit. The only like big nitpick I didn't like about this one, I feel like they emphasized Shirley feeling left out a little too much. Like they made that joke a couple too many times for me.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's a joke that it's not funny enough to not have a resolution. So so I'll probably give this episode just a straight up 7 out of 10.
Closer to a 7 than 8.
No edges.
Have you ever gone below 7 for a rating on an episode?
Yeah. He went like 2 out of 10 for the
Schmitty.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fair. That's not an episode. That doesn't even deserve to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'll go 7 here.
Okay.
I'm going 5 out of 10. I don't know where to start. And this episode sucks. Like, it's just not funny to me. Like, I don't think the plots are that interesting. We mentioned, or I think I mentioned this. I don't think the Jeff plot. It's not interesting to me. I don't know. It's wholesome, I guess, but I feel like the whole, like, I'm a healthy person, but then I suddenly get a little bit of bad news that makes me think I'm scared of dying now. Like, I feel like that trope's been overdone a lot in TV. Like, there's a Frasier episode.
Yeah.
I know about it. I think there's an Office episode about it. Where Michael's like afraid of dying. I can't remember which one it is.
Was it the one where he has herpes?
It could be, or just even like the one with the bird dying. The bird hits the window and they have the funeral for a bird. I'm pretty sure that's real. You're not real, man. But like, it's overdone. So it's just like, I guess I'm not at that point in my life where I would be worried about that. Maybe that is a real thing, but it feels so like, okay, cool. Jeff, you're in the best ship. You're like your life. You're, whatever. Not really interesting to me. Didn't have a lot of like humor in this episode in general. Like not a lot of jokes that I thought were very,
like memorable.
Just memorable.
Besides
like maybe
the
like
Abed joke, like that's brilliant.
Yeah,
but it's not. But it's literally just in the background.
And like once you find out about that, you're like, okay, cool, I see that. It's funny, but like once you know about it, I knew about it.
It loses the novelty. Yeah, really fast.
So
so if you haven't seen the episode yet, sorry for spoiling it. But
keep an eye on the background.
Yeah,
it's the most interesting part of the episode.
Oh yeah. But it's sad that the background is the most interesting part of the episode.
I also just like, do we need another religion episode? Because we've already had like 2 up to this point. We had the Christmas episode, which they make a comment about. And then, like the Pierce with his Colt when he has the Cookie Crisp wizard outfit on, kind of a religion episode. It's just like, how many more do we need?
See, I do appreciate though that they're not just checking off the boxes for like, okay, well, what conflict can we have in this episode? We've had the conflict because like in The Office, it's like we have our sensitivity training. We're Oscar's gay, and we have the Scott's taught. I can't honestly, that I brought that up. I don't have a lot of examples, so maybe I shouldn't have any credibility for this argument. But I do appreciate that, like, it's not like a one and done thing. That like they just talk about it and then they resolve it and they never talk about it again. So, but I do get that like this trope is not unique to Community, so it's not like gonna keep you gripped to reality. Like the KFC chicken episode that we'll talk about, like that's unique enough to like think about, but dealing with mortality is not really sitcom material. And so I'm gonna diverge a little bit from that.
If I may though, just to cut in,
I'm didn't have to cut me off. Anyway, go ahead. You're fine.
Somebody. Okay. No, but also I've noticed with Dan Harmon, like properties and like things he's written, he like touches on like whether it's Judeo-Christian religion or just like religion. Like I feel like maybe again we're all 3 of us are Christians, so it's like something we're like a little more aware of. But like in 2 episodes, it's going to be the Jesus episode. Yeah, with Abed. I was just watching a clip from season 5, episode 1 of Rick and Morty, where like Morty's like, "Is it like a Narnia thing?"
We made this reference already in the show, but yeah,
but it's
I'm not a talking beaver that believes in Jesus Christ, Morty.
Yeah,
or being interested in dragons is like somebody who doesn't want to admit that they're Christian.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah,
but like Narnia came out 07. The books came out
like in the 60s or 50s.
So it's 40s? Like not like Narnia's not has that property has no
relevance,
weight, but like Narnia? Like really? Like
Yeah.
it's just so that's just something I've noticed with Dan Harmon
I think-
properties that like yeah.
Well, like even like the very last clip of Community is the like, it's literally just Dan Harmon talking to the audience as a narrator, right? Of like,
Yeah.
you know, you got to let people in, and it's just the whole like existentialism, and maybe that's why I don't want to roast this episode too hard. I mean, I do because Jeff sucks in this episode, but like, I don't know. I also want to sound like the really profound person on the podcast. So like, even though the theme of like mortality and like the human condition and like what the point of it all is, like that's overdone, and like a lot of shows tackle it, but I think that's because like it's a pretty universal thing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I worry about it, and I'm 22, right? Like, I think maybe like I know that Dan Harmon has a lot of like mental health issues as well, so maybe that's kind of part of it. Of like if you struggle with that versus if you don't, versus you know like whatever those examples are, because the interaction between Shirley and Jeff, where you know Jeff just talks about like we always think that we're the exception, like we think that we're right, and we think that we're the ones who are going to make it out. Like you know, I've thought about this a lot in the last couple of years of like genetically, I didn't win the lottery. Like my maternal grandfather had a heart attack and he had prostate cancer, and my great grandpa had dementia, and like dentally wise, like a lot of my grandparents have had like tooth issues, and my dad had tooth issues, like heart disease. Like, so I can't just expect to live to 100. Like I think a lot of us are like, oh yeah, I'll be old and then I'll die. Like, and then that kind of brings up like, okay, well, what happens next? Because like all three of us are Christians. And so, you know, the Bible says that if you believe in Jesus and believe that he's the Son of God, then you go to heaven. If not, you go to hell. But, you know, for Jeff, he's like, okay, well, this is it. You know, like for Jeff, Christianity is not true, and believing in it doesn't make it any more true, which is how he sees Shirley. But to Shirley, it's the opposite. Like Christianity is true, and not believing in it doesn't make you any less wrong, right? It doesn't make it any less true. And so I appreciate that conversation in the episode, even if Jeff is just a horrible human being in this episode. Like I told this to Jonathan, whenever Jeff is about to take Pierce to see his dead mom, he talks to Britta and Annie. He's like, you guys are real downers. I can't believe I made out with both of you. And whenever I heard that line, I literally was like, you know what? Fuck off, Jeff. Like, just fuck off. Like I said that out loud, like to nobody in particular, because it just was like so like ironic, first of all, but just, I don't know. He just a reason. That's why I didn't have him as leading the class the last couple of episodes. But it's also, this is the second episode this season, excuse me, where somebody gives Jeff, specifically Jeff, like life advice, and then he uses that in his own twisted logic. Because in this episode 1, Annie was like, well, what if you settle down? And like, and he's like, well, yeah, I can beat Britta at her own game. And then in this one, Duncan was like, well, yeah, you use your religion and your lack of it to beat down Pierce's religion. He was like, I could really roll up both sleeves and hammer him. Really? Yeah, I could really do that. And I'm like, right. It reminds me of the Schofield story that you told me about Western Civ. Yeah. But yeah, and I don't know, like it's a frustrating, like obviously it's Jeff. Like Jeff has flaws as the leading man of the show, but the fact that they've done it so much so recently in the show kind of bothers me. So if we're returning to give a rating for this episode, the cinematic masterpiece Ratatouille from 2007. I really didn't like the Linguini storyline at all, and especially Linguini being Gusteau's son. I thought that once they revealed that, it just kind of lost it for me.
Yeah, I didn't need to happen.
So I feel like I'm going to give this a Linguini being the son of Gusteau out of the Ratatouille for me. Okay. So, you know, it's not the worst. It's still part of a good movie. You know, it's still part of a good show, but it's not doing it for me. So yeah, that's my rating for this episode. But the next one, I'm a little bit more excited to talk about. The basic rocket science episode. I had some A+ moments. I thought that there were just a lot of really clever small details that went into this episode. I really liked Leonard's, like the cutaway gag, because Community doesn't really have a lot of cutaway gags.
Yeah.
But they did one of Abed wants to be like, hey, after we're done cleaning, can we be in the simulator? And the dean's like, no, that is for actual students who are preparing in our space simulator. And it cuts away to Leonard in like a cardboard box. And he's like, wow, great job on this. It's hard to believe I'm not really in space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's not that's more like a Family Guy gag, but like I really liked it. I really liked whenever Abed runs away and then comes back, like sort of the whole setup for him splitting from the group. And after the bus has been towed, he like goes up the parking lot. He like looks around, and then he just like glances up.
Yeah, that's
and
so
it's
cute.
like
It's adorable.
It's adorable,
Yeah.
right? And Danny Pudi, like he's just he's a little teddy bear, you know. Like I just want to go over and he's yeah. But and then I really like, you know, how the whole episode is sort of like a parody. So most of the jokes are played straight of like we gotta get him home. I really like how Abed's like, I know how to fly her. You know, I know all of it. Should have been me. And the dean's like, well, then we need you to bring them home. And he's like, I'll make us some coffee. And like, you think like, oh, the dean's actually cool about this. And then he's like, psycho.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the dean has no right to talk at all. But I just thought it was kind of funny that you think, I don't know, it's successful subversion of expectations in a small joke, in a small detail. I love the use of KFC. Like, I really like the video game episode of Community, and I like in TV shows or movies where they have like games or they have gimmicks or they have experiences, because it just like is world building. So the fact that in this universe, like there's a KFC game,
Yeah.
you know, it's like they use KFC materials and stuff like that. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And even it being an Atari cartridge, as Jeff points out. So I really like that. It was a good episode. I'll share more. Ethan, what
This
did you
episode
think?
has a lot of good lines. I mean, yeah, just a lot of things made me laugh. Like one of my favorite ones is Troy when they're in the KFC simulator, and they ask, you know, they're talking to him on the radio, and I think the dean asks them where they're at, and Troy goes, "We're 40 light years outside the Buttermilk Nebula, although it's possible." Yeah, it's a sticker.
yeah, it's a sticker.
yeah. Troy nails this episode.
Oh, yeah.
They all really do.
Maybe if I do go like this, all of our problems will be solved. Like, how many times have you, like, not that, but like, you know, stuck the gas pump in twice instead of once to make sure that it's not actually broken, or
Yeah.
you know, like just done really small stuff. Like, well, maybe it'll fix it, but
Oh, you just got to plug it in, plug it out. Should work.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that the Abed and Dean too, like they honestly just those two together in a room is awesome. With the map and they unveil it. There's a lot of good lines to that, but my favorite is you've circled truck stops and public restrooms. Why do they have ratings? And then later Abed goes, "Oh, this one has 3 thumbs up." And then
Those
Dean
aren't
goes,
thumbs.
"Those aren't thumbs."
which is like, oh,
It's fun. It's funny.
good for the dean for yeah. I love how they can make the obvious joke without actually saying it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like they've never actually said up to this point that the
Gating.
dean is gay. Yet, I don't think like
Gating,
I mean they've hinted at like, yeah, this
gating.
guy's a little weird. Like you kind of get indication, but like now it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna run with it. Like he's obviously gay. We don't need to say it, but you know he is. So
Yeah.
Also, would you guys ship the dean and the city college dean?
I mean, it's the only person he's in love with. You know.
are they
Jeff
in love?
Winger?
No, I in my head, like they have like this,
Like sexual tension?
yeah. Well, that's hate, like this love hate sexual.
Yeah,
tension.
Almost like a Knuckles and what's the bat? Knuckles and
I can't remember her name. It's like Violet or something like that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Eve,
Go for
isn't it?
Look it up. Yeah.
I don't know if the dean necessarily is like in love with the city college dean. I feel like he's more just like he is, for lack of a better term, turned on by like dominant like
Men.
men. Because like the episode where there's Jeff comes in like wearing like sunglasses and a
Rouge.
Rouge.
Yeah, Rouge the bat. It's Rouge. You're right.
Ow,
I'm dyslexic.
my toesies.
My toesies. That's why you wear closed-toed shoes on the job. Yeah. So it's not a Knuckles and Rouge situation. You think it's just
I mean, it could be. But I just think
even
he's,
his shadow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think he's just attracted to like powerful men that you know. Yeah.
I forgot everything you said before Rectum.
Yeah.
And then Jeff has a good like funny line, but it also is like, you know what? Kind of a cool like wholesome line. And he's like, our school may be toilet, but it's our toilet. Nobody craps in it but us.
Yeah.
Yeah, singing it for Greendale, even if it is a piece of crap.
So again, I feel like I've mentioned the fact that I'm a recruiter a whole bunch, which is beside the point. But I remember like whenever I was in high school and I was trying to find like the college that I was supposed to go to, I like judged colleges based on like how cool their materials were. Like obviously the bigger schools can like send you glossy stickers, or they can have like the velour, like style metallic-y stuff. And then like the really lower class colleges, like they just send you like a white sheet of paper on Times New Roman font. But whenever I visited our old roommate Caleb yesterday, we went to like the college in their town in Marshall, and I was just like, man, like this is actually different. Like the buildings just look different. Like the campus atmosphere is different, and I'm glad. Like I'm really fortunate that I came to a good school. Like, and it's not just like alumni syndrome where it's like, yeah, go Cats, we're the best school ever. But like there is a difference in like quality of school and like choosing the right school versus just choosing like a school out of convenience. And so I think that's kind of the whole point of Greendale is like, it's just like a cesspool, but it is still cool that Jeff has like endearment to it, like he has an alumni syndrome that, it's a crappy school, but it's my crappy school. So yeah.
For A+ stuff, I just love the parody of space travel movies.
Yeah.
I've always loved like wanting to be in like those like science war rooms that like
Houston
that Ovid runs like for this, and like that I love the line where Cheng's like, I figured out
for them to reroute the power to the auxiliary battery to
what?
He just backs away
because like there's always those lines.
bypassed the main compressor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not how the Force works.
Those are my favorite Chang. That's how I think Chang works the best for me, is when he's not like
crazy
Chang. He's just kind of like a side character, and he's
like,
not a total buffoon, but he's trying hard, but he's
no, I love that line, because it's just like, I appreciate you trying to be helpful, buddy, but you're comparing apples to oranges here. Or what's the Rick and Morty line? You're trying to spend Monopoly bucks at a Wendy's Palace.
Jeez. But for leading the class, I had Dean.
Hold on, before I'm going to cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm going to cut you off now. Snippet.
Anymore, you're not. No.
I honestly, growing up, I never really vibed with space movies, like space travel movies, like The Martian came out whenever I was like 15, and it wasn't a bad movie. It was shot well. It was good acting, but like that was never like my jam. Like I had a friend who loved rockets and he loved like space, and I think part of it was growing up. It was the whole idea of like science, and like science is just sort of like anything that's not religion, and like all of these movies are just science, And maybe that said more about my faith growing up than it said about the movies. But I never really like wanted to sit down and watch them when people were like outside of Earth. And I think it's the same reason that I don't like the ocean. Of like, you're screwed. Like if your car breaks down here in Maryville, Jonathan can call me or call Ethan, and like we're gonna be right there to help him.
Yeah.
But like literally the whole point of The Martian is that he's like planets away and he can't get help. And so like it always kind of just like subconsciously made me uncomfortable that like in outer space, no one can hear you scream. But it's completely different from what right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not Earth, it's not Maryville, it's not Kansas City. There's no God in space. No, but so maybe like that's why I wasn't like as excited for the parody, but I appreciated that they did parody it so well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry. So anyway, for your leading class,
I would say Dean Pelton. I just love the kind of different versions of him we got. We got like the one at the start that's like the mission, like the
kind of competent Dean.
Yeah,
like, actually has
exactly, because like there are moments within the show it's like, oh, Dean like is actually he's not smart, he's not potentially like particularly confident.
Greendale will just be another college on my resume that nobody can call because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. But like it's this weird thing, because I was listening to this podcast recently of this guy talking about like what does it mean to be qualified for a job, and what does it mean to work a job that you're not qualified for. And it's like, if you're working a job that you're not qualified for, you have to actually discredit the job to the point that you think you're qualified for it. Like it's only being a doctor, or just read off a chart, scribble some stuff on a paper. Like you have to discredit the thing to like be like worthy of it. If you're actually not like qualified for it,
or you just have imposter syndrome and then you never feel like you're qualified for it.
Yeah. But like, so like the dean really like on the outside isn't really qualified for the head of a
community college,
a major community, a major tri-state area community. But like he's actually kind of decent at his job because he cares so much, and like we kind of like I don't know, see some glimpses of that in this episode, or like see a glimpse of like how deeply he cares about this college. And so yeah, and then anytime you can give it to
The
Dean
Dean.
Pelton, I'll
Dude needs a dub.
exactly.
I got Abed because I think Danny Pudi nails it. He makes you kind of forget that he's Abed for a while in this episode because he's not the socially like unaware,
He's playing the part.
Yeah, he's playing the part really well. And
Yeah.
we've talked about before how much he nails the Batman. He goes all out to play Batman.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like, I think that he is doing a good job of being Abed because Abed would play the part of the disgraced space captain so well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I see.
I don't know if that's any different from what you were already saying, but
no, I think that like they could have really just screwed Abed over in this episode because he's not part of the group in the KFC simulator. Like he gets left behind. And instead he kind of gets his own moment to like be the hero and like be the cliche, like,
it should have been me.
Captain back home that's stranded trying to get his crew home. Like he gets to be that, kind of like in, I think there's another episode I'm thinking of like, in the chicken episode, like he gets to be the Godfather. Like he gets to be the mob boss. Abed gets to kind of be in charge and he does it. He's playing a role, but he actually ends up like doing it really well and actually helps him get home,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's Abed's whole character is that he plays roles. Like My Dinner with Abed, like Danny Pudi is being himself, but Abed is being somebody who's normal.
But he's not just playing them like just because he's like immature. He plays them at the right moments. Like he gets to be the hardened astronaut captain here in this
making
episode.
my sciatica.
Yeah. or the cop or whatever. Like he does it at the moments when he needs to do it.
Yeah,
And actually ends up being beneficial.
Which that's kind of why I'm confused with the chloroform moment. Why couldn't he have played somebody who had been chloroformed better? You know what I mean? I guess, and that's just something small. It's not relevant, but yeah, I see what you're saying. And that's, he deserves to be the lead in the class. So I didn't mean to cut you off. Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay. I kind of went back and forth. I thought this was one of those episodes where like everybody plays. I mean, like the Dean and Abed are both good like characters, and so I would probably give it to one of them. But like this isn't a bottle episode in the traditional sense that it takes place in only one space, but
space.
Six of the green
space,
simulated space.
Yeah, simulated space.
But 6 of the 7 Greendale 7 spend most of the episode, almost all the episode, in the bucket or the space simulator. And so I feel like everybody who's in that, they make it so well because there's not a lot to interact with. Like you have Sanders on the screen, you have the station, but like that's really it. And so a lot of it is the conflict that like who ratted them out to the dean. Annie is gonna transfer. Pierce is claustrophobic. So like I honestly give props to the cast of the episode because like it's hard to not have like opportunities to progress the story by progressing to new places. So I don't know, that's kind of a cheat, but I feel like I'm gonna give the leading the class to the Greendale 6 of the Greendale 7. But I feel like I found a lot of cool things in this episode in terms of extra credit. The first, did you guys notice this? That the City College space simulator was called the City College Community Pioneer, Cosmic Pioneer, which is CCCP, and it was put on the side of the shuttle. Did you notice that?
No.
So that is a reference to like the Soviet space race.
Oh,
so
cool.
Like if you ever look up like Russian cosmonauts, they have CCCP, which is like the central committee of the Communist Party. Like CCCP is like what the Soviets would have on their rockets, and then the US would have like United States and then the flag. So I thought that was really cool because I noticed that at first. I was like, I've seen that before. And maybe I'm just imagining it, but I looked it up and it's like, yeah, that's like literally it adds another layer to the parody that City College is the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And then
well, does that mean that they got their fake shuttle from like the Soviet Union?
No.
Like it was a
it might be. I think the point is that it's called the City College Cosmic Pioneer. That's like the acronym. Because like that could have been just like an unintentional choice, but I feel like it's a little too deliberate for this method. And then even the dean like shows the projector screen and City College is red, and it takes over Greendale.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, and like the history,
Reds are coming after.
the history geek in me is like, oh, nobody cares about this. So I also thought it was ironic that the Greendale 7 walk out in slow motion, and Abed is like only 20 more meters, and then Pierce is like, you guys are walking in slow motion, and I think it's funny because they're parodying that scene in like space movies, but at this point, making fun of the slow motion is also a parody. Like it's a cliche of a cliche.
Yeah.
Right. So like Monsters Inc. did the slow walk, but then they made fun of it in the closing credits for Monsters Inc. Whenever Pixar movies used to have blooper reels in the credits. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then We Must Be Heroes, which is like the sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl, did the same thing. And then there's a third example that I had. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, so yeah, I just thought it's funny that like that's the parody, but now people parody the parody too. Then this isn't really like extra credit or like a trivia thing, but so the name of the robot is Systematic Android Networked Diode Energy Rocket System, or Sanders. I've always wondered, like with military acronyms or with like government bills, like who sits down and makes acronyms? Like obviously the show writers were like, all right, we have 7 letters, so now we got to make something that fits it, and it just kind of happens to work. But like the CARES Act or the STAR Act or the HERO Act, like I don't know, maybe I'm just not as smart as I think I am, and I can't do that. But I've always thought it's kind of cool how people could like make acronyms that actually kind of make sense.
My favorite is the Patriot Act.
The Patriot Act.
Like that one, that's just they stretched on that one. I think. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an acronym.
Yeah, it's an acronym. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what it stands for, but I'm pretty sure it's an acronym for something. Look that up and confirm.
It's
providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism.
Let's go, Mr. Red, White, and Blue.
brought to you.
Honestly, like respect George Bush for that one.
Yeah, I know.
But you know, he didn't make it though. It was some like intern from like Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He just made it. And George was like, "My God, you're a genius."
Yeah.
And never see it coming. So I just thought that's kind of fun. Whenever Pierce falls and he like crashes into the back closet, he makes like that off-brand Wilhelm scream. It's like the oh, and I'm pretty sure like you hear that in Star Wars. I know I've heard it before a lot. I'm like, why couldn't you just done the actual Wilhelm scream? Like, is that a ripoff of like some movie where there's just like that scream over and over again? Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. One of my favorite like small bloopers is Gillian Jacobs in the whole like Mighty Morphin time where they're like flavor chicken and Jeff is like chicken, yeah, and then like Britta like smirks in the background. Like I think Gillian Jacobs broke character because she thought it was funny, but like you can still see her in the back, and then they don't break the shot; they just like split it into different like screens. Mm-hmm. So I always think it's fun. Like that was the first blooper that I ever caught that nobody had to tell me to see. I saw it on my own, which probably doesn't matter at all. And then my last little extra credit. So whenever Ethan and I were really young, like our parents didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't ever go to like Disney World or like I only went to Chuck E. Cheese if my friends invited me. Like I went as their guest. So I feel like the KFC shuttle, like the bus. Like that would be something that Ethan and I would have done as kids. Like we would have gone like to the state fair for one day and like we would have walked around for 8 hours and like never bought a bottle of water.
All for two chicken tenders.
Right.
And a shot of gravy.
I feel like we would have done it at like 6. And then for years I would have like reminisced about it. And then at the age of like 15, I would have Googled it. And then like watched somebody like do a video walkthrough of it on YouTube and be like, oh, this actually really blows. Like, why was like this is not at all what I remember it. I feel like it's just like something that kids, if this was real, like that was what they would experience.
It'd be on Defunct Land.
It'd be on Defunct Land. Yeah, exactly. Like back in 2007 to 2009, KFC sponsored the KFC Herbs and Space Express. Also, shout out to Defunct Land. If you listen to this podcast, I'm a big fan.
I don't know where to point this out at, but I feel like this is a good topic since we're talking about KFC. I do want to like shout out. I love when shows will
product integrate, but
make a joke about the product integration.
Mm-hmm. Like Subway.
Yeah.
Hyundai.
Community does it a lot, and Honda or Chang has a line in here about I try to give everybody outside some of these yummy KFC crispy chicken sandwiches. They thought I was just trying to do product integration.
This wine bread though,
so good. Wine bread though,
Yeah.
Or like I feel like 30 Rock does that quite a bit. Like they will the whole show is like they are owned by GE, and which I think they make a joke of, like they're not actually probably sponsored by GE, but they just talk about them as if they are. Or Arrested Development. I think there's like Carl Weathers like always has to go to Burger King or something.
Right.
They have to like
or
mention
like
the Whopper.
In Parks and Rec, in like the 2017 like Johnny Karate episode, they're like the Exxon Taco Bell T-Mobile merger, right? And it's like we're fueling all areas of your life. And maybe I'm just the capitalist drone that I was raised to be, and all the marketing flows are successful. But as a kid, I actually really liked whenever TV shows had product integrations. Like, wow, Captain America is sitting next to a Taco Bell site, and I go eat a Taco Bell, right? Like
he's just like me.
He's just like me, which means that it worked exactly like it was supposed to. It was supposed to get you to go to Subway, but dang it, it was so much fun as a kid to just see like, wow, this TV show is popular enough to have Taco Bell in it. Like, and I hate it.
You guys have any marked in red or final thoughts on the episode?
Do I?
I thought it was just a solid, fun adventure. This episode,
fun for the whole family.
Yeah. No, but this is one of those like kind of vault episodes of Community. I feel like in terms of like the fandom, I'm not sure quite for myself, but like Ethan and I talk about this on the podcast a lot, like those like community complications. Paul Markop.
Compilations.
Thank you. Those
videos.
Yeah,
those videos.
Like the best line from every Community episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's a sticker. Like
it's a sticker.
It like different lines from this will come
Get
up
off my mommy.
a lot. So yeah, it's just a solid, fun adventure. Good parody. Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. Good soup. The only note that I have in here, maybe because I was too tired to write any more notes, was that it's an awesome quasi bottle episode. So like I said, not an actual bottle episode because it takes place in a couple different scenes, like the Dean and Bobbette are separate. I feel like whenever this episode, like whenever I'm on a watch through and this episode comes up, like I'm excited to watch it. Like I don't just sit through it, like I actually enjoy it. So I think I pointed this out. If Pierce had attacked Sanders from the outset, like they wouldn't have actually had to work together because he just rips the TV out of the wall after. Because like there's actually several different conflicts going on at once. Because first they had to figure out where they are. So to do that, they have to launch. Like they had to complete the game or to complete the mission. Like that doesn't free them from the bus. They're still stuck in it. They have to still get back to Greendale. So like if Pierce would have attacked Sanders at the beginning, like they would have avoided, like you probably wouldn't have learned that Annie was going to transfer. You wouldn't have learned that Jeff was the one that sold him out to the Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that real quick? Just do we ever really understand why Annie wants to transfer?
Because she's mad that they thought the butt flag was so funny.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Continue. My bad.
No, that's fine. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a weak reason for her to.
I thought that.
If she was like, Greendale doesn't really offer the degree that I want, and I want to be in forensics, and I want to, and City College offers that to me, and I feel like that would be a fun play on what Jeff did like in season 1, where he's like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to get a degree. Like, what if Annie was on the flip side of like, I'm not here to get a degree. I am here to make friends because like you guys are the first people who have, my whole life I've achieved, but I've never been accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe it's okay for me to not achieve as much and be accepted. Cause like for me as a college student, like that was the journey that I had to go on, where it's like, okay, like I didn't graduate with a 4.0, and in high school that would have like wrecked me emotionally. But now I'm like, I made so many connections professionally. I made so many connections as like friends. Like I'm okay with not like having all A's in my class because I had good experiences to back it up.
Yeah.
And like I still did well enough to our audience. I didn't flunk out of college. But I do feel like that would have added another layer to Annie's character of like she's, perfect Annie. And so maybe the other option for her transfer is that like, oh, this is my one shot to make it and like justify all of the the overexertion in high school and to get over like my narco stuff is to go to City College. But then she's like, no, like my friends, like this is what I need more. And so she like comes to that. Like, she does like an inverse of what Jeff did. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like that seems like such a weak reason for them to explain why she wants to transfer. Like she's mad that they were immature about the flag and like she was kind of like embarrassed by it, right? That's the reasoning.
Right.
So like, why is that the thing that's sending her over the edge? Because Greendale has literally shown, we've already seen one season of them just doing ridiculous things like having court in a swimming pool, having a paintball war on campus, having a dance called the trainee dance, and like nobody bats an eye.
But I don't think she's mad at Greendale. I think she's mad at her friends for bashing Greendale. She's mad at she's like, she doesn't want her friends to disrespect her school enough to think that the butt flag is funny, which I get that. I'm like, and Ethan and I have this conversation quite a bit about like the whole like everybody thinks that everything's a joke and like sometimes take it too far, and like there's a boat that exists named Bodie McBoatface because they let people choose the name of the boat. Like,
don't get me started.
I think that that's funny. Like, I do think that the whole like Blinky McBlinkyson or Blinkerson or Stabby McStab head or something like that. Like, I don't know. I'm immature like that, but it does frustrate me whenever people think that everything's a joke and that they can't take anything seriously. And so like if my friends would have put in the joke flag and it would have won, I would have been mad too. So I do get that from Annie, but I feel like as the reason for her to transfer from school, like that seems more of just a cop out of like, we have to have some reason for her to want to leave, so that might as well be it. Like correlation shouldn't have to equal causation.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I think that's a valid reason for her to be upset. I agree. I think it seems like a cop out answer for her as to why she wants to transfer.
Right.
Like that seems like such I don't want to say minor thing.
It's not minor, but I think it's.
But why is she transferring from Greendale where she's already found this family?
It's too convenient.
Yeah.
For this episode.
And they did the transfer thing last year with the whole Vaughn thing, where it's like, oh, because of Vaughn, I'm going to transfer.
Yeah, like at least that one, like even
grow his spine less.
Even if it's like a little bit immature for like her to chase a boy, to a different school, like that one made more.
Well, it's
sense.
also mature for her to get mad at her friends and then want to leave college for it.
Yeah, but like you can kind of understand why she would at least go, okay, yeah, her boyfriend is moving. She wants to support him. She really likes him. So that makes sense.
We could go into a whole tangent about college relationships and moving somewhere for somebody because those never work. But I will say in college, I was really glad whenever a girl would tell me that she had a boyfriend from like another school. I was like, well, that relation's ending in 3 months, so maybe I've got a chance. Yeah. Obviously, it never did, but I digress.
I think this is a fun episode. I mean, I don't want to nitpick on it too much. I like this episode a lot. It's not the best of like the parody episodes. It's not up there with like a paintball or the chicken tender one. But it's,
can I interject? I don't know. Like, I never really consider this to be a parody episode, though. Like, I think of Floor's Lava, Paintball 2, Paintball 3. Like, those are parody episodes. But I guess I never really saw this as like this is a parody of Apollo 13 or a parody. You know what I mean? I
think it's a parody of space movies in general because I think that's a kind of a genre, right? I mean,
yeah, for sure.
So I see it as a parody. I mean, it's. Again, I don't think it's one of the strongest ones, but I think it's a good episode. I think it's fun.
That's fair.
I think it's entertaining in that we get to see the entire group, basically minus Abed. I mean, Abed's still involved in it. He's just on the radio, involved in this. But I think, especially after some of the prior episodes before this in this season that were kind of like clunky, we didn't really love the plots. Just this episode is simple. There's really not like there are some conflicts, but there's not like 5 different plots going on, and they all are separate. The main plot is they have to get back to Greendale in time for the opening so that they can beat City College in terms of getting the simulator, and so like it just seems it's a lot more simpler, which to me makes it more entertaining because I'm not why is Britta and Shirley bickering about or whatever? Like,
yeah, a lot of the episodes recently have been 3 different plots, and like maybe 2 of the Greendale 7 are in each of those plots. And I think that's something that we missed with the lawyer episode. Was that this episode or was that last episode?
That was last episode.
That's last episode. Because we mentioned that Jeff wanted the group to leave because he didn't care. Like he made a reference like in the business we call this like a toxic relationship or something like that. And like I feel like multiple times in this series, Jeff himself has pointed out like we need each other. We're a community. Like. And he talks about that in season 4. Like, whenever any one of us is messing up, the other 6 have to forgive them because they're going to mess up too. It's like, this is a good example of like the Greendale 7 coming together and like being in the same conflict, and that's where the show really excels, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good episode. I mean, it's entertaining. It's not super complex. It's just like sometimes I'm okay with having those multiple plots if it does, if there's some resolution to it. But sometimes you just want like the easy watching, like it's just kind of like junk food. Like it's really not probably beneficial. It's not really this episode we could do without it in terms of like it doesn't move the plot forward, but it's just it's easy to watch. It's fun to watch. Like you can just digest it and enjoy it for what it is. So I give it like a 8.5 out of 10, probably closer to a 9 than a also like A+ on the music.
Yeah,
on the parody. Like, shout out to the music, the soundtrack people. Like it really kind of makes you feel a little emotional. I mean, it's just a RV that they're driving back. Like, man,
not RV really, starring Robin Williams. It's a different thing entirely.
Yeah, it kind of drives the point home though, and really does a lot to just make it more feel like a special episode. A movie episode. I do want to nitpick one last thing. The City College's dean acting is really cringy to me, especially in that last scene where
you haven't seen. Oh, never mind.
No, it's that when he goes up to Annie, he's like, "I guess you're not City College material after all," and then Annie's like, "Thanks." And I think it's supposed to kind of be like a knock on just, I don't know, cheesy endings to movies, like after there's a reunion scene. But his acting is so bad in that scene. I feel like did you guys like? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or like
I didn't quite. I guess you're
not City College material.
I just never liked. I guess I've never really liked the City College dean in general. And again, it's kind of like what I said in the last episode. Like, sir, we're not booing you because of your effective field work. We're booing you because you're simply awful. Like whenever the City College dean is on screen, whenever the dean is on the screen, and you've never seen
the dean is on the screen.
I just want him to get off the screen. Like the paintball episode, like. I'm not happy that Greendale wins because like they're the better college. I'm just happy that the City College. I don't care if you win. I just need Kylo Ren to lose.
Yeah,
like that's kind of how I feel. So I guess I do kind of notice that.
He's pretty invisible to me.
He's meaningless, really, except just there to add some conflict for Greendale.
I do like that Greendale is like consistently brought as the runner-up to City College. Like that's kind of the whole joke. It's the Pawnee and Eagleton because I feel like there are. Well, I don't know. Are there any times where City College actually goes over? Because they lose the debate. They lose the space race. They technically lose paintball. And then they don't really show up.
So, I don't really think of City College ever, but we do kind of get, which this is one of my like biggest nitpicks with the whole series, is I think it's the end of the paintball episode where City College tries to invade. And like the very last scene, you see like the dean from City College, and he has like this blueprint.
No, it's it's the one that after Chang decides not to partner with City College.
Okay, gotcha.
But I know what you're talking about.
There's like you see him with like this blueprint for like this giant spider mechanical robot, monster thing. I don't know what it is. And then they never talk about that again. Like it almost makes you think, like, okay, there's maybe going to be some kind of weird plot where City College unveils a big whatever. And they never mentioned that again. I really expected that to be a thing when I watched this originally.
Yeah.
And so like that's the only time where I could think like, okay, we don't really get a resolution to that, but City College kind of gets the win on that note, like the last laugh, but they don't really. It's just kind of weird.
I know what episode you're talking about, and I feel like that has to have been like a season 4 into season 5, like Ryan Johnson and then J.J. Abrams and like, no, screw whatever he did. I'm not doing that.
Somebody else came in and like, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. It's a gas leak here. So
yeah. Did you already get your rating, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
Go for it.
No, like I already kind of said my piece.
Okay. I'd have to give this episode a KFC.
You've already done the chicken.
I've already done the chicken one. I'm going to say a KFC Sweet Lightning Mountain Dew out of Baja Blast. Because Baja Blast is my favorite. No, what am I talking about? No, this was an awesome episode. I'm not going to give it that. I'm going to give it a KFC Louisville Hot out of a KFC $5 fill up, because Louisville Hot's really good, but you can't have too much of it. And I feel like they did just enough of the parody and conflict in City College. So I'm going to stick with that. So, I've already done the Raising Cane's bit. I'm going to go with another chicken-based rating because I'm a chicken guy.
We love our chicken.
Jonathan brought me churches before this episode, so another product integration. Not
KFC
sponsored.
Sounds good right now. After talking about it.
Some of the sweet Hawaiian chicken.
Haven't had that.
Haven't had that?
No.
Well, folks, use the promo code YAA. Gosh, why am I with W's? Use the promo code YAA to get 15% off your next KFC order, but don't hold us legally responsible if it doesn't work. So
I'm the window with the lights still on.
Bow,
Yeah.
bow, bow, bow.